And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Isabelle Lee, taking you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Tim Stenovec joins us from the radio booth. Kristine Aquino in today for Carol Massar. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms. As we parse the most crucial moments of the day, Tim, a bit of a holding pattern for stocks. A mixed day here with the S&P and the NASDAQ in the red, the Russell 2000 in the green.
Yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow when we get CPI and Thursday when we get PPI. But I think you're right, a little bit of a holding pattern. It's a Tuesday in August, so maybe we're the only ones at the office today and everybody's at the beach. But we are still seeing at least oil make moves today. Yeah. WTI futures up about 1.6% as are Brent futures. WTI about $83 a barrel. Brent just shy of $90 a barrel at $89.16.
I do wish that I was on the beach myself, but I'm here in the freezing studio beside Romaine. But we did have
Romaine takes no offense to that comment. Okay?
Yeah, wow.
I'm so happy to be here.
Chopped liver here.
We did talk to Wells Fargo Osung Kwan, who said that CPI is the last hurdle before big semis. Big semis meaning NVIDIA and Broadcom. So he is really looking out for that. I mean, CPI will really shed light on whether we're seeing energy-related inflation pressures cool.
Yeah, well, speaking of inflation pressures, Isabelle, I was keeping an eye on the bond market today. Yields lower across the board by about 1 to 2 basis points across major tenors. But, remember, there are still rate hikes very much priced into the curve, including for the September meeting. There's about over 50% chance that we're going to get a rate hike in September, at least according to market pricing. But if it's up to Kevin Marsh, it's a little bit more up in the air.
And we're also going to get earnings here, a big focus on earnings with Quantinuum, Firefly, Kava, CoreWeave, Supermicro, and Lumentum set to cross the wire momentarily with red across the screen here on this Tuesday afternoon. The Dow and the S&P each down about 0.3% on the day. The NASDAQ composite losing about 0.6% on the day, while the Russell 2000, that's the flip side here in the green, up 10 points or 0.3%.
In the S&P 500, peeling back the layer there, we did see, even though the S&P moved ever so slightly lower today, we did see more stocks move higher in the index, 277 to the upside, 225 stocks in the S&P declined today.
And now we're taking a look at IMAP, and it's mostly red on the screen, which isn't a surprise as markets ended lower. You had tech down by nearly, actually tech is just flat. It's financials that's down by 0.3%, materials lower, communication services lower, and maybe energy is one of the two bright spots there, up by 0.7%.
Well, as we await some of these earnings, let's take a look at some of the stocks that moved higher today. I want to start with a couple alternative asset managers, KKR and Apollo, those both moving higher. KKR to the tune of 7% today. Apollo up 6.3%. These were among the firms that outperformed financial peers after NVIDIA tapped some Wall Street investment firms for that $500 billion funding commitment. Apollo, Blackstone, BlackRock, Brookfield Asset Management partnering with NVIDIA to source $500 billion in financing for AI infrastructure. The coalition also includes Goldman Sachs and KKR. Also, I'm watching what's going on with Riot Platforms. Speaking of AI infrastructure, shares were up as much as 22%.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to wow me. What happened?
I don't know what happened. Maybe a little bit of the air came out of this balloon, but it was still higher by 4.3% today. This was a Bitcoin mining company that now has pivoted to AI infrastructure.
Once Bitcoin mining companies?
Sorry?
Weren't we all once Bitcoin
we were all, and maybe once we will all be AI infrastructure companies.
Wonderful.
That's the question. A $9.1 billion deal with Anthropic. That for 191 megawatts of computing in Riot's Rockdale, Texas campus. It's expected to generate $9.1 billion in revenue, but it goes through June of 2048. That is a commitment. What are you guys going to be doing in June
of 2048?
Yeah.
I can't do the math that quick, but you average out that $9 billion
I know.
over the next 20 years?
Yeah, I guess that's what the calculator says.
Okay. Maybe that's why the stock went from up 20% to only up 4%?
Maybe okay. People saw the fine print.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of maybe looking backward a little bit, we are talking about bending spoons. The stock was up 4% today, also up higher earlier in the session.
AOL, yeah.
This is Romaine. This is all the stuff you and I used to use.
Yes, used
back in the day.
Yes,
Vimeo, AOL, Evernote. Those sorts of things.
Is MySpace in there somewhere?
They're kind of creating this private equity
I think my MySpace
style
page
roll-up.
is floating
What's
around
that?
out there? Nothing.
Okay.
You're like Carol Massar now. Okay.
Mizuho hiked its price target ahead of the company's first earnings report. This was a second consecutive session for the company, the stock moving higher today. It hit an all-time high earlier. We'll see what earnings say. But this has performed pretty well since that IPO.
I do have a source who had an AOL email, and that was
Yeah.
shocking to me and gave me a heart attack.
We have any decliners today?
Well, yeah, let's take a look at what is down today. Let's start with Beyond Meat. I mean, big declines there. Stocks down more than 20%. That is the biggest decline since October. We know, of course, that the board has elected for a 1-for-30 reverse stock split of its common stock. That's probably what's pressuring those shares as well. And remember, we saw a second quarter decline in their net revenue, and analysts are recognizing that it is slowly improving. Its business is just proving to be slower than expected here. So a lot of red on the screen for Beyond Meat today.
A little bit of red on the screen right now for Lumentum. Actually, the share is oscillating between gains and losses. The maker of optical equipment used in a lot of this technology build out. Providing its quarterly update here. Revenue in the most recent quarter does look like it came in above average. Adjusted EPS also beating the average of street estimates. $3.23. That's your bottom line number. The street was looking for $2.97. But here's the guidance for the current quarter. This is the fiscal first quarter. The company says net revenue will be in a range of $1.23 to $1.28 billion. The street was looking for $1.15 billion. So it looks like for the most recent quarter, it did beat on most of the key metrics, and at least right now on the revenue guidance. So going forward, it also does appear to be coming in above what the street was looking for.
I'm going right to that press release for any commentary we can get around these numbers. The company's president and CEO, Michael Hurlston, saying that Lumentum is positioned at the heart of a secular industry shift. Talks about AI compute workloads increasing in both speed and bandwidth. Data center architects are turning to optical links as a primary means of connectivity. The company also says increasing demand for ultra-high power CPO lasers, an initial order for ELS modules, as well as our breadth of NPO engagements are the first signs that optics are starting to penetrate in rack connectivity. Romaine.
All right, there's a lot of words there. I'm not sure I understand most of them.
Dr. Romaine.
Well, let's take a look at Supermicro. Of course, this company builds and sells all these AI servers out there. A company, of course, that has gone through some fits and starts. The share is up about 8% in the after-hour trade. The gross margin coming in above estimates, 17.6%. EPS above estimates, $1.70 versus $1.59 that the street was looking for. Net sales, $11.12 billion. That's a slight miss. The street was looking for $11.26 billion. Still digging around here for any sort of forecast, but it does appear, at least on the bottom line, it beats, and that was a key metric here. People were really looking more towards profitability. Remember, this is a company that provided us with a pre-announcement about 3 weeks ago saying that its revenue would be at the lower end of its previous range here. So all around here, it looks like they're relatively coming in with what the street was looking for.
Yeah, shares of Supermicro up about 7% in the after hours. Looking for some commentary, the company's founder, president, and CEO says as demand accelerates, we are improving profitability through a richer enterprise customer mix and broader adoption of our optimized data center building block solutions architecture, combined with continued investment in tech leadership, manufacturing scale, and global compliance. That's key there, global compliance. Mm-hmm. We are enabling customers to deploy AI infrastructure faster and more efficiently. Shares of Supermicro up 9% in the after hours. This has been a volatile stock, though.
You see that net sales forecast for the first quarter, guys, 14.5 to 15.5 billion. The street on average was looking for 12 billion, so guiding well above street estimates.
Maybe what's helping also is the new orders climbing to more than $60 billion, and that comes amid a backlog of demand for its servers outfitted with NVIDIA chips. Every time I think of an AI story, NVIDIA always finds its way there. It really is at the epicenter of this whole AI craze.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting, Isabelle. I mean, that was definitely a strong point that a lot of analysts were anticipating, right? That backlog, very much an indicator of just the sheer demand for anything AI related or anything involved in this AI supply chain. I mean, before when we got their preliminary guidance, analysts were viewing it as positive, and clearly today's beat really just affirming the story here for Supermicro and its role in the AI trade and build out moving forward.
Well, speaking of the AI trade, have you ever heard of a company called EROC, ticker EROC? The share is up about 15% in the after-hours trade. Distributed power systems is its game, and now a partnership when it comes to Anthropic. This according to a report from Barron saying that Anthropic will buy about 470 megawatts of power equipment from EROC. Don't necessarily have the terms of that, but obviously anything that you see Anthropic, OpenAI, NVIDIA touching or investing in, of course, gets a pretty strong bid.
All right, we got numbers from Lumentum, Supermicro, and a couple others. We're still waiting on CoreWeave, Kava, Firefly Aerospace, and some more.